everybody, welcome back to the PTP Hustle. Today I want to talk about 5 essential tips for a part-time music producer. So if you have a full-time job, you're in school full-time, you have other responsibilities that take up a lot of your time throughout the day, you don't really have a lot of time to do music production, right? So I want to talk about how you can find ways to be more productive, be creative, and efficient with the time when your time is overall limited. So with that, let's get started. Let's start with tip number 1. Set realistic goals. Realistic goals is really trying to find a way to make sure that you have things you can do within a given amount of time. So when you're working on a music project, you don't want to necessarily try to finish the track for every session that you work on. You want to try to master a plugin that you're working on. You want to really take time and set realistic goals that allow you to take steps and move in the right direction. So how do you do that? You want to take big tasks that you have, break those into the smaller steps so you can be able to accomplish those steps. And then you want to set specific goals for each session, like write a melody, create a drum track, do some mixing. A lot of things you can do in that terms of what you want to do in that period of time, but you really want to make sure that you are very specific in how you set up your session. And finally, you want to use weekly or monthly goals to set your progress. So if you have a goal to get a song done within a week time span, each day work on that track and make sure you can try to meet those goals. Really that simple. So if you got an hour today to work on some music, focus on something small. It could be layering a sound, it could be cleaning up a mix, tweaking a drum track, and really just working on your bass drums. You can be working on your snares. There's a lot of things you can do to kind of make things more efficient for your time. And you really want to make sure that you take small and consistent progress that adds up over time. All right, tip number 2, you want to create a dedicated workspace. So when you create a dedicated workspace, it doesn't have to be anything professional in terms of a studio setup. Just really a place where you can actually find time to focus on the music that you want to create. So how do you do that? You set up a music studio with your essentials. It could be a laptop, headphones, maybe a MIDI keyboard. If you have studio monitors, that also helps as well. But make sure you have those things in place and easily accessible. Then you want to keep your workspace organized so you can actually jump into production quickly. Because again, you are a part-time producer, you don't have a lot of time, you want to make sure you maximize the time that you have. So if you can't leave your setup out there, in a place where you can actually get to it and jump into music production, create a go-to bag, something that you can put your laptop and these other devices into so you can just pull them out and jump into it and start producing quickly. Remember, your main goal is to make sure you're efficient with your time and you create a dedicated workspace so you can actually get to work and get some things done. So the overall goal when you create a dedicated workspace is to remove any friction when you're ready to work. You know exactly where everything is. You want everything to be in place so you know what to do. So when you start producing, you really don't have time to waste. You have a small window that you want to take advantage of, and you can actually jump into it and make some progress. Tip number 3, you want to use templates and presets. If you're working on your digital or your workstation, also known as a DAW, most of those are going to support some type of template, which you can set up for different tasks like mixing, beat making, lots of different things that will help you make sure that you can do things in a way that makes sense. Sound design is also another one that you can think about as well to use a template for. The template will allow you to save your instruments, your plugins, track settings, all those things will really make life easier for you. And then you can also create presets for your most used instruments and sounds. So instead of you having to look for the same instruments and effects over and over again, make those things available as part of your preset so when your DAW loads up and it loads them to the workstation, you're ready to get at it and go. And lastly, you want to build a custom sample library which allows you to organize by either genre or the mood, the type of music that you're playing. If you have some slow music that you're working on, you have certain types of instruments that you want to use that. If you got up-tempo stuff that you're working on, you want to keep those categorized as well. Put those to the side and make sure you have a custom sample library that you can actually tap into. It's going to really increase your workflow. So bottom line with this is that having templates and presets will really cut down on the time you need to set up. It lets you dive right straight into the creative process. You'll spend less time setting up things and you move really quickly actually making music as opposed to figuring out how you're going to get set up to actually make music. All right, so tip number 4 is to learn efficiently with limited time. So as a part-time producer, you really don't have a lot of time to spend watching tutorials, reading manuals, and so on. So you want to focus on learning things one thing at a time and then applying that technique and learning immediately. A couple ways to do this. You want to watch short, focused tutorials on specific techniques, and really you can learn by creating a beat, effect, etc. while you watch. And then you can apply that and do it over and over and over again. And then if you don't have time to finish that tutorial that you're working on, go back and watch it again, just bookmark it, go back and revisit it, find similar ones that you can also take advantage of, and really just use that and add it to your repertoire. So for example, let's say you want to learn about sidechain compression. You want to watch a 5-minute video really quick, take that learning, and then apply it to the project that you're working on. That way you can use a hands-on approach in how you do things. This allows you to lock in the technique, really understand what's being done, and your brain can work more effectively because you're taking that learning and really applying it to the work that you're trying to do. The goal is really to build skills gradually without overwhelming yourself. You're a part-time producer, you're gonna have a lot of time, so you need to take advantage of what you have. Okay, last and final tip is tip number 5. You wanna stay inspired and avoid burnout. So with tip number 5, you wanna stay inspired and avoid burnout by a few things. Part-time producing can really feel like it's really overwhelming sometimes because you're doing it at the end of your day or on the weekend or something, especially if you're juggling other jobs and responsibilities like I talked about early on. So staying creative is really the key to being successful. So how are you gonna do this? So take a break when you need it, don't force creativity, and listen to new music regularly to help spark ideas. That really is what I do to help me keep the lights going and really do some good work on my own. Also, you wanna collaborate with other musicians if you can. This is really helpful for you gaining fresh perspectives. You have a community that's online that you belong to. It's great to collaborate and talk with other producers, get some ideas, share files, and really help spark that creativity all along. And then finally set up some time to experiment with new sounds, genres. If you go back and forth between different genres like I do, sometimes you'll hear something in another market or a genre that you like that you want to kind of infuse into what you're doing on another project. It's always good to kind of bring those things into the play of what you're doing because it makes your job easier to do and it makes the music really more creative overall. Bottom line is don't get discouraged. No, we're cranking out new tracks all the time. That's not the focus. You want to use your downtime wisely, whether it's listening to new music, listening to new genres, messing around with new plugins, or even just stepping away from your computer at times to really kind of step back and recharge. You're a part-time producer, so really you got to focus on those things to make sure you're creative when you do sit down and start generating music. Sometimes a 10-minute session, experimenting with a synth sound or something of that nature can help you with your next big idea. So don't be afraid to experiment. Try things you haven't tried before, sample plugins, tweak the settings on the instrument. It all makes a difference. You can create something that's really new and exciting that you can use in your track. So let's recap. Number 1, set realistic goals. Number 2, create a dedicated workspace. Number 3, use templates and presets to save time. Number 4, learn efficiently with limited time. And number 5, stay inspired and avoid burnout. So remember, with these 5 essential tips, the key is staying consistent. Staying passionate about what you're doing and what you're creating, and even with limited time, you can make real progress. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more music production tips, and let me know what you think in the comments. What's been your biggest challenge as a part-time producer? I want to hear about it. I want to say thanks for watching, happy producing, PTP Hustle out.